It was December 22nd, 2025 at 2:47 a.m. when a dream so violent, so utterly disturbing about my children's Christmas morning drove me to the prairie grasslands 3 miles outside town. And there, surrounded by endless waves of dried winter grass bending under winds that carried the electric smell of an approaching storm, Jesus appeared with tears streaming down his face and revealed that four specific Christmas items sitting in millions of homes right now are doorways, literal doorways, for demonic oppression that will follow families into the new year and beyond. Not everyone who sees this message is meant to see it. Some will scroll past, some will ignore it, but you've been marked. You've been marked to hear this. You've been chosen to receive this warning before it's too late, before Christmas morning, before those four items do their work. I need you to do something right now. Before I go any further, I need you to drop your prayer requests in the comments. I don't care how long they are. I don't care how impossible they seem. Drop them now. Because what I'm about to share with you is going to require a level of spiritual readiness that most Christians don't have. Most Christians aren't ready for this. But you are. You're here. You're reading these words at this exact moment because the Holy Spirit orchestrated it. And if you're a true believer, if you're someone who actually wants the full truth, not the watered-down feel-good Christmas message the American church is selling, then subscribe right now. Hit that button, because I'm going to lose subscribers over this message. I'm going to lose people who call themselves Christians but who love their traditions more than they love truth. Let them go. I only want the marked ones here. I only want the remnant. Some of you know me from The Chosen. You've seen my face on that show. You've seen me portray the life of Christ. And I want you to understand something. Being on that set, spending years immersed in the Gospels, studying every word Jesus spoke, every gesture, every moment of his ministry, it did something to me. It opened me up in ways I didn't expect. It made me sensitive to his voice in ways that terrify me sometimes. And 3 hours ago, at 2:47 in the morning, I heard that voice. I was asleep. My wife was beside me. The house was silent except for the winter wind rattling our bedroom window. And then the dream came. In the dream, I was watching my own children, my two youngest, on Christmas morning. They were surrounded by torn wrapping paper, ribbons, boxes. The tree was lit up behind them, beautiful, perfect. Everything looked exactly like a Christmas morning should look. But their faces, God help me, their faces were wrong. Their eyes were vacant, hollow. And standing behind each of them, with hands on their shoulders, were these shadows. These shapes that weren't quite human. And these shadows were whispering into my children's ears, and I could actually see in the dream, black oil running from my children's eyes like tears. I tried to scream, couldn't make a sound, tried to run to them, couldn't move, and then I heard it, his voice, clear as I'm writing to you now. Jonathan, wake up, come to me, come now. I jolted awake, gasping, my shirt soaked with sweat despite the cold room. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I might be having a heart attack. I looked at my phone, 2:47 a.m., and I knew. I just knew. This wasn't a normal nightmare. This was a summons. I've learned over the years, especially since The Chosen, especially since I've been walking more closely with the Lord, that when he calls you at 2:47 in the morning, you don't roll over and go back to sleep. You don't wait until sunrise. You go. So I got dressed as quietly as I could, jeans, boots, a heavy coat. I went downstairs past our own Christmas tree, and I'm going to be honest with you, I looked at that tree differently. I looked at the presents underneath it differently. My stomach was churning. I got in my truck, and I drove. I didn't even know where I was going at first. I just drove, and then I found myself on County Road 17, heading out toward the grasslands. You have to understand, I live in Kansas. We've got prairie land that stretches for miles and miles, especially once you get outside the suburbs. And there's this particular spot, this place where the road ends, and there's nothing but open grassland as far as you can see. I'd been there once before, maybe 2 years ago, just to think, just to pray. It's isolated, it's quiet. It's the kind of place where you can actually hear yourself think, hear God speak. When I pulled up and killed the engine, I realized the storm was coming. I'd seen the weather report earlier, severe thunderstorm warnings for after midnight, and now I could see it. To the west, massive clouds were building, towering up into the night sky. Lightning was flickering inside them, lighting them up from within like some kind of supernatural lamp. The wind was picking up, strong and cold, smelling like rain and electricity and winter earth. I got out of the truck and the temperature hit me immediately. It couldn't have been more than 35 degrees, maybe 30. The wind cut through my coat like it wasn't even there. The grasslands stretched out in every direction, the dried grasses from winter, tall grass prairie, blue stem, and Indian grass, all brown and gold and silver in the darkness. bending and whispering and hissing as the wind moved through them in waves. Above me, the clouds were rolling in fast, swallowing the stars, but there was still a patch of clear sky to the east, and the moon, 3/4 full, was casting this pale, ghostly light across everything. The grass looked like an ocean, like waves frozen in time, and the sound was like 1,000 voices whispering all at once. I walked out into the grass. It came up to my waist in some places, my knees in others. The ground was uneven, hard with cold. My breath came out in clouds, and I realized I was shaking, not just from the cold, from fear, from anticipation. "Jesus," I said out loud. My voice sounded small and insignificant against the wind. "I'm here. You called me. I'm listening." For a moment, nothing. Just the wind, just the grass, just the distant rumble of thunder. And then the temperature dropped. I'm not exaggerating. It dropped so suddenly and so dramatically that I gasped. I could see my breath had gone from thin clouds to thick fog. The grass around me stopped moving, even though the wind was still blowing. Everything went silent, completely silent, like someone had hit a mute button on the entire prairie. And he was there. I can't explain how I knew. I didn't see him at first, but I felt his presence like a physical weight in the air, like the atmosphere itself had changed, had become heavier, more real, more alive. "Jonathan." His voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It resonated in my chest, in my bones. I turned, and there he was, standing 20 feet away in the grass, exactly as I'd come to envision him through years of studying the Gospels, through the Chosen, through prayer and meditation. But this wasn't imagination. This wasn't my mind playing tricks. This was him, actually him. He was wearing simple robes that moved slightly in a wind I could no longer feel. His face was kind, but his eyes, God, his eyes, were filled with such deep sadness that I felt my throat tighten immediately, and he was crying. Tears were running down his face, catching the moonlight. "Lord," I whispered, and I fell to my knees right there in the frozen grass. "Lord, I'm here." He walked toward me. Each step he took, the grass beneath his feet glowed slightly, just for a moment, like it was responding to his presence. When he was close enough that I could have reached out and touched him, he stopped. "Jonathan, I am going to show you something that will break your heart," he said. His voice was gentle, but there was steel underneath it. Authority, the same authority that calmed storms and raised the dead. "I am going to show you how my people, my church, has invited darkness into their homes in my name. During the very season meant to celebrate my arrival, they have opened doors for the enemy. And there are 4 items, 4 specific things, that are in millions of Christian homes right now, and these things are not neutral. They are not innocent. They are gateways." I couldn't speak. My mouth had gone completely dry. "Do you want to see?" he asked. "Do you want to know?" "Yes, Lord," I managed to say. "Yes." He raised his hand, and the entire prairie lit up. I don't mean with lightning. I mean it lit up with vision, with revelation. The grass, the ground, the sky, everything became transparent, and I could see through it. I could see into homes, thousands of them, millions of them. Christmas homes, decorated homes, Christian homes with crosses on the walls and Bibles on the shelves. And I could see the darkness. In home after home, I saw these same 4 items. And around each item, I saw something that made my blood run cold. I saw spiritual activity, dark, writhing shadows that moved with intention, with intelligence. They weren't random. They were purposeful. They were feeding off something, drawing power from something. "The first item," Jesus said, and his voice was heavy with grief, "is the elf on the shelf." Immediately, my vision focused on a specific home, a kitchen. Early morning, a mother was moving a little elf doll from the refrigerator to the top of the cabinets. Her 2 children came running in, squealing with delight, looking for where the elf had moved to overnight. "Do you see it, Jonathan?" Jesus asked. "Do you see what this teaches?" I watched as the children searched, and I began to see it through his eyes. I saw the theology being built in these young minds, a figure that watches you constantly, that reports your behavior, that determines your worthiness, that moves unseen in the night, that you must search for, focus on, give your attention to. "They have created a false mediator," Jesus said, and now his voice carried anger beneath the sadness. "They have made a game out of surveillance and judgment. These children are learning to perform righteousness to earn favor from an all-seeing presence that is not me. Do you understand? This is not innocent, Jonathan. This is mockery. Every single day of December, parents move this doll and they tell their children, he's watching you. He's reporting to Santa. You better be good. What is this but a counterfeit of the Holy Spirit? What is this but a perversion of my watchful care? As he spoke, I saw the shadow things around the elf. They were small, but they were there, whispering, and I could hear what they were whispering to the children. You're being watched. You're being judged. Perform, perform. Earn your blessing. Earn your gifts. You're not good enough yet. Try harder. It was the spirit of religion, the spirit of works-based righteousness, being fed to children through a toy. Lord, I said, my voice breaking, I've seen these in stores. I've seen Christian families use them. They think it's just fun, just a game. Just a game, Jesus repeated, and he turned to look at me directly. Jonathan, there is no just a game when it comes to the spiritual formation of children. There is no neutral ground. You are either teaching them about my grace, my unearned love, my constant presence that guides rather than condemns, or you are teaching them the enemy's lies. This elf? It teaches conditional love, performance-based acceptance, constant surveillance for the purpose of judgment rather than protection, and worst of all, it shifts their focus during the season of my birth to a false mediator. The vision shifted. I saw another home. This one had multiple elves. The parents had created elaborate scenes. Elves having snowball fights with marshmallows, elves making messes in the bathroom, elves ziplined across the living room. The children were obsessed. First thing every morning, before prayer, before breakfast, before anything else, they ran through the house searching for the elves. Their conversation at dinner revolved around the elves. Their behavior was modified based on what they thought the elves would report, and the parents, I could see it in their faces, thought they were creating magical Christmas memories. But behind it all, feeding on the attention, feeding on the misplaced focus, were those shadows, growing slightly stronger each day. How many families? I whispered. Millions, Jesus said. Millions of Christian families have invited this into their homes, and they defend it, Jonathan. When my prophets speak against it, they are mocked. They are called legalistic, joyless. But I tell you the truth, this is a deception, and it opens a door. The wind suddenly came back, hitting me with force. The vision faded, and I was back in the prairie, on my knees, shaking. The storm clouds had moved closer. Thunder rumbled. Deeper now, closer. There are 3 more, Jesus said. 3 more items that must be revealed. But tonight I show you only the first, so you can understand the pattern, so you can recognize the deception. He knelt down in front of me. His face was close to mine. His eyes were still wet with tears, but there was fire in them too. The enemy does not come with horns and a pitchfork, Jonathan. He comes with tinsel and tradition. He comes with nostalgia and laughter. He comes disguised as innocent fun during the most sacred season. And because these things are wrapped in the appearance of joy, my people cannot see the darkness embedded within them. What do I do, Lord? I asked. How do I warn them? You speak, he said simply. You speak what I have shown you, and you understand that many will reject it. Many will be angry. Many will cling to their traditions more tightly than they cling to me. But the marked ones, the remnant, they will hear. They will recognize truth. They will act. He stood up. The grass around him moved again in that wind I couldn't feel. The glow beneath his feet intensified for a moment. Tomorrow night, he said, return here. Same time. I will show you the second item, and the third, and the fourth, and then you will understand the full scope of what has been done, what is being done right now, 48 hours before Christmas morning. Lord, my own home, I started to say, panic rising in my chest. My own children, do we have these things? He looked at me with such compassion that I almost broke down completely. Search your house, Jonathan. You know what to look for now, and whatever you find, whatever items I reveal to you over these next 3 nights, remove them, not in anger, not in fear, but in obedience. Remove them and replace them with truth. Replace them with my presence. Teach your children the real meaning of this season. Teach them about a God who came as a baby, who didn't survey them from a distance, but entered into their mess, who doesn't require performance but offers grace. Lightning flashed, huge and bright, illuminating the entire prairie. Thunder followed immediately, shaking the ground. The first drops of rain began to fall, fat and cold. Go home, Jesus said. Rest what little you can, And tomorrow night, 2:47 a.m., come back to this place. The second item is worse than the first, Jonathan, much worse, and you need to be prepared to see it. And then he was gone. Just gone. The presence lifted. The supernatural weight in the air evaporated. I was alone on the prairie in the beginning of a storm, soaked and shaking and completely undone. I ran back to my truck. I sat in the driver's seat with rain hammering on the roof, and I wept. I wept for the children. I wept for the church. I wept because I knew that when I shared this message, I would be called crazy, extreme, legalistic, a killjoy. But I also knew I had to speak it, because you don't see Jesus weeping and then stay silent. You don't receive a revelation in a prairie at 3 a.m. during a storm and then go back to business as usual. I drove home as dawn was beginning to break. The storm was still raging, and when I walked into my house and looked at our Christmas decorations, I saw them through different eyes. This is just the beginning. This is just the first item. There are 3 more. And tomorrow night, I go back to the prairie, back to the storm, back to hear what else Jesus needs to reveal before Christmas morning comes and millions of families unknowingly open their doors to darkness. Are you ready to hear the rest? Are you ready to know what the other 3 items are? Drop "I'm marked" in the comments if you're ready for tomorrow night's revelation. Because I'm telling you right now, it gets darker, it gets more specific, and it's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about Christian Christmas traditions. Tomorrow night, same prairie, darker revelations. I'll see you there. I didn't sleep. How could I? After what I'd seen, after what Jesus had revealed to me in those grasslands, sleep felt impossible, obscene even. I spent all of December 22nd in a fog, going through the motions of normal life, while my mind kept replaying that vision. Those shadows around the elf, those whispers, the tears on Jesus' face. My wife knew something was wrong. She kept asking me throughout the day if I was okay. I didn't know how to explain it to her. How do you tell someone you had a 3 a.m. encounter with Jesus in a prairie during a storm? How do you say our Christmas traditions might be doorways for demons without sounding completely insane? But I did something. After the kids went to school, I went through our house, room by room, and I found it, the elf. We'd had it for 3 years. Our kids loved it. Every morning they'd race to find where it had moved overnight. I stood there in our living room, holding this little felt doll with its frozen smile, and I felt sick. I texted my wife, "We need to talk about the elf tonight." She responded with a confused emoji. I spent the rest of the day restless, watching the clock. I tried to work, couldn't focus, tried to pray. My mind kept drifting to the prairie, to what Jesus had said. Tomorrow night, the second item is worse than the first, Jonathan. Much worse. Worse than teaching children performance-based religion. Worse than creating a false mediator. What could be worse? The day dragged on eternally. Evening came. Dinner. Family time. The kids wanted to watch a Christmas movie. I sat there on the couch, watching them, studying their faces, their innocence, their trust. And I thought about how easy it is to spiritually poison children without even knowing it, how traditions can carry curses, how darkness can wear the costume of joy. We put the kids to bed at 9 p.m. My wife and I talked about the elf. I tried to explain as best I could without sounding like I'd lost my mind. I told her about the dream, about feeling called to pray, about sensing something wrong with teaching kids constant surveillance and behavior-based rewards. She was skeptical, but she knows me. She knows I don't do things lightly. "If you really feel that strongly about it, we can stop," she finally said. "But you need to help me explain it to the kids. They're going to be devastated." "I know," I said, "but sometimes protection feels like devastation at first." We went to bed around 11 p.m. I set my phone alarm for 2:30 a.m., but I didn't need it. I was awake at 2:15, staring at the ceiling, my heart already racing. At 2:35, I got dressed. Same routine as the night before. Jeans, boots, heavy coat. This time my wife woke up as I was leaving the bedroom. "Where are you going?" she whispered. "To pray," I said. "I need to pray. I'll be back before sunrise." She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Be safe." The drive to the grasslands felt different this time. I knew what I was driving toward. I knew he would be there. The storm from the previous night had passed, but it had left the world transformed. The temperature had dropped into the low 20s. As I drove down County Road 17, my headlights caught frost on the grass. Everything was covered in a thin layer of ice that glittered like diamonds. When I pulled up to the same spot and killed the engine, The silence was profound. Last night had been wind and thunder and approaching storm. Tonight was stillness, complete, absolute stillness, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, expectant. I checked my phone. 2:47 a.m. exactly. I got out of the truck, and the cold hit me like a physical blow. My breath came out in thick clouds. The frost crunched under my boots. The prairie stretched out in every direction, the grasses now coated in ice, glittering under a sky so clear and so full of stars that it almost hurt to look at. The moon had waxed fuller, nearly full now, and it cast everything in silver blue light. The beauty was almost violent. It was too much, too vast, too clear. Standing there, I felt microscopically small, insignificant, and yet I also felt seen, known, expected. I walked out into the grasslands. The frozen grass crackled and whispered as I moved through it. My fingers were already going numb despite my gloves. My face burned from the cold. I could feel ice crystals forming in my beard from my breath. "Jesus," I said out loud, "I'm here. I came back." And just like the night before, the temperature dropped even further. I didn't think it was possible, but suddenly it felt like 0 degrees, -degrees. The air itself seemed to crystallize. And the silence became so complete that I could hear my own heartbeat, my own blood moving through my veins. He appeared. This time he was closer, maybe only 10 feet away, standing in the frost-covered grass. But tonight he looked different. His face was harder. His jaw was set. The tears from last night had been replaced by something else. Righteous anger, holy fury barely contained. "Jonathan," he said, and his voice made the frozen ground beneath me vibrate. "Are you ready to see the second item?" "Yes, Lord," I said, though every cell in my body wanted to say no, wanted to run back to the truck, drive home, pretend none of this was happening. "The first item taught children false religion," Jesus said, walking slowly toward me. "It taught performance, works, surveillance, judgment. It created a counterfeit of the Holy Spirit's conviction. But the second item," he paused and I saw his hands clench into fists. "The second item invites actual spirits into the home, not shadows, not influences, actual entities." My legs almost gave out. "Lord, what is it?" He raised his hand and the prairie transformed again. The frozen grass, the starlit sky, everything became translucent, and I could see through into homes again, hundreds of them, thousands. "The second item," Jesus said, his voice resonating with power, "is the Christmas pyramid, the German Weihnachts pyramid." I saw them, in home after home, beautiful wooden structures, multiple tiers, with candles at the base creating heat that would turn a fan blade at the top, making the entire pyramid slowly rotate. The tiers were decorated with carved figures, nativity scenes, angels, shepherds, wise men. They were gorgeous, intricate. They looked ancient, traditional, sacred even. "Lord, I don't understand," I said. "These look religious. They have nativity scenes. How is this?" "Look closer," he commanded. The vision zoomed in on one specific home, a beautiful living room, a Christian family. I could see the crosses on the walls, the Bible on the coffee table, the framed scripture art, and on their mantel was a large Christmas pyramid lit with real candles, slowly rotating. The family was gathered around it, admiring it. The mother was explaining to her children how it had belonged to her grandmother, how it was a cherished tradition, and then I saw them. At each tier of the pyramid, standing at the corners, barely visible but undeniably present, were figures, not the wooden carved figures. Other figures, shadow figures, but more solid than what I'd seen with the elf, more defined, more present. "Do you see them?" Jesus asked. "Yes," I whispered, horror rising in my throat. "What are they?" "Familiar spirits," he said, "generational spirits. These pyramids, Jonathan, they originated in pagan winter solstice celebrations. Long before they were Christianized, long before anyone carved a nativity scene onto them, they were used in Germanic pagan worship. They were symbols of the world tree, the cosmic axis. They were used in rituals to honor the old gods during the darkest time of year. The candles were offerings. The rotation represented the turning of the seasons, the wheel of the year." He gestured and the vision shifted. I saw back through time. I saw villages in medieval Germany. I saw people gathering around these pyramids in the dead of winter, chanting, making offerings, calling on powers that were not God. "When Christianity came to these regions," Jesus continued, The church made a terrible compromise. Instead of destroying these objects, instead of breaking completely with paganism, they Christianized them. They put nativity scenes on them. They placed them in homes and said, "See, now they're Christian, now they're holy." But you cannot sanctify what was created for darkness, Jonathan. You cannot put my name on an altar built for demons and expect the demons to leave. The vision shifted back to the modern home. I watched as the family went to bed, leaving the candles burning on the pyramid, and as the house grew dark and quiet, those shadow figures at the corners became more visible, more active. They began to move through the house. One went to the parents' bedroom. I watched it hover over the wife as she slept, and I could hear what it was whispering. Fear, anxiety. What if you can't pay the bills? What if he leaves you? What if your children rebel? Fear, fear, fear. Another went to a child's room, a young boy, maybe 8 years old. The shadow stood beside his bed, and it whispered, anger. That's right. Your parents don't understand you. Your sister gets everything. You get nothing. Anger, resentment, rage. Lord, stop, I said, tears starting to stream down my face. Please, I can't. You must see, Jesus said, and his voice was firm but not unkind. You must understand what these items do. This family believes they are honoring tradition, honoring their heritage. They believe because they've put a nativity scene on this pyramid, it's been redeemed. But the structure itself, the ritual of lighting it, the daily practice of gathering around it, these actions echo the original pagan intent, and spirits recognize their own. They respond to invitations, even unintentional ones. I watched as night after night the family lit the pyramid, and night after night the spirits grew stronger, more solid, more present. I could see the effects over time. The mother became more anxious, started having panic attacks. The father became distant, irritable. The children started fighting constantly. The family began to fracture, and they had no idea why. They prayed, they went to church, they read their Bibles, but every evening they lit that pyramid. Every evening they renewed the invitation without knowing it. How many families? I asked, my voice barely audible. Thousands, Jesus said, especially among those with Germanic heritage. These pyramids are passed down generation to generation, family heirlooms, and with them pass familiar spirits, demons that attach themselves to bloodlines. They enter through one generation and afflict the next, and the next, and the next, all through an object that people believe is honoring me. The prairie seemed to tilt beneath me. I fell to my knees in the frozen grass. The ice soaked through my jeans immediately, but I didn't care. I was trembling violently, and not from the cold. Lord, there are stores selling these right now. Christian stores. I've seen them. They're marketed as beautiful nativity decorations. How do people not know? Jesus knelt down in front of me, just as he had the night before. His face was close to mine. I could see every detail, the sorrow in his eyes, the strength in his features, the barely contained fury at what the enemy had done to his people. They don't know, Jonathan, because no one teaches them. The modern church has forgotten how to discern. They have been taught that if something has a Christian label, it must be Christian. They have been taught that tradition is sacred, that heritage is beyond question. They have been told that seeing demons, recognizing their activity, being aware of spiritual warfare, that these things are extreme, charismatic excess, hysteria. He reached out and placed his hand on my shoulder. The warmth that radiated from his touch was instantaneous and overwhelming. It drove back the cold, drove back the fear. But I am calling my people back to discernment, back to testing everything, back to understanding that the enemy is real, that he is active, and that he uses the very things that appear most innocent, most traditional, most sacred. The vision shifted again. I saw another home, a different family. This one had multiple pyramids, different sizes, collected over years, and the spiritual oppression in that house was like a thick fog. I could see it. Depression, addiction, a teenager cutting herself in the bathroom, a marriage falling apart, and no one connected it to the pyramids. How could they? The pyramids were beautiful, traditional. They'd had them for generations. What do they do, Lord? I asked. If they have these in their homes right now, what do they do? They remove them, he said simply. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone is ready. But those who are marked, those who have ears to hear, they will remove them. Not in fear, not in superstition, but in obedience. They will take these items out of their homes, and they will break agreement with any spirits that entered through them. They will cleanse their homes. They will pray with authority. They will seal their doors and windows with my blood, and they will teach their children the truth. What truth? I asked. That not everything old is holy, that not everything traditional is godly, that heritage can carry curses as easily as blessings, that objects matter in the spiritual realm, that there are items that should never be in a Christian home, regardless of how beautiful they are, regardless of how many generations have owned them. He stood up, pulling me to my feet with him. The warmth from his hand spread through my entire body. I stopped shaking. Look, he said, turning me to face west. The horizon was beginning to change. Dawn was still an hour away, but there was a faint lightening at the edge of the world. The stars were beginning to fade, and in that pre-dawn light, the frozen prairie looked like an ocean of diamonds, millions of ice crystals catching the starlight, the moonlight, glittering endlessly. "This is what I want for my people," Jesus said softly. "This purity, this clarity, this light. But they cannot reflect my light when they are harboring darkness. They cannot shine when they are tethered to objects that bind them to the enemy's kingdom." He turned to look at me. "There are 2 more items, Jonathan. 2 more revelations. Tomorrow night, I will show you the third, and it will be the most controversial of all, because it is something that is in almost every Christian home, something that people believe honors me above all other Christmas items." My stomach dropped. "What is it, Lord?" "Tomorrow night," he said, 3 a.m., "come back to this place and prepare yourself, because what I show you tomorrow will cause people to hate you, to call you a heretic, to say you've gone too far, but you will speak it anyway, because you are marked, because you are called, because you love my sheep more than you love your reputation." The wind suddenly picked up. The frozen grass began to whisper and sing. The temperature, which had been held at bay by his presence, came crashing back. I gasped as the cold hit me. "Go home," Jesus said. "Spend the day in my word. Read Deuteronomy 7. Read 2 Corinthians 6:14-18. Read Acts 19:18-20. Understand that what I am asking is not new. It has always been my standard: holiness, separation, complete devotion." And then he was gone. The presence lifted. I was alone in the frozen prairie with dawn approaching and my mind reeling. I stumbled back to my truck. My legs were stiff from kneeling in the ice. My face was numb, but my spirit was on fire. I drove home as the sky gradually lightened. I thought about that family with the pyramid. I thought about the spirits moving through their house while they slept. I thought about how they had no idea what they'd invited in, how they were suffering and couldn't understand why, how they were praying for breakthrough while maintaining the very thing that kept them bound. And I thought about how angry people are going to be when I share this, because people love their traditions, they love their heritage, they love their heirlooms, and when you tell them that something their grandmother gave them might be spiritually dangerous, they don't thank you, they attack you. But I heard his voice, I saw the vision, and I know what he's asking me to do. Are you still with me? Are you still reading? Because tomorrow night is the third item, and Jesus said it's the most controversial of all, something that's in almost every Christian home, something people believe honors him. Can you guess what it is? Drop your guesses in the comments, but more importantly, drop your commitment. Drop "I'm ready for truth no matter what it costs me," because that's what this is going to cost. Truth always costs something: comfort, tradition, popularity, sometimes even relationships. But Jesus is worth it. His presence is worth it. Freedom for your family is worth it. Tomorrow night, 3 a.m., the prairie, the third item. I'll see you there. December 23rd was the longest day of my life. I couldn't eat. I tried. My wife made breakfast, lunch, put a plate in front of me at dinner, but everything tasted like ash. My stomach was in knots, because I knew. Somehow, deep in my spirit, I already knew what the third item was going to be, and I was terrified to have it confirmed. I spent the day exactly as Jesus had instructed. I read Deuteronomy 7, where God commanded the Israelites to completely destroy the altars, sacred stones, and Asherah poles of the nations they conquered. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, cut down their Asherah poles, and burn their idols in the fire. I read 2 Corinthians 6. What agreement is there between the temple of God and idols? For we are the temple of the living God. Therefore come out from them and be separate, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you. I read Acts 19, where new believers in Ephesus brought their scrolls of magic arts and burned them publicly, even though they were worth 50,000 drachmas. They didn't sell them, didn't donate them to a museum, didn't keep them as cultural artifacts. They burned them. The pattern was clear. God has always demanded complete separation from objects connected to false worship. No compromise, no Christianizing, no redeeming, destruction, removal, absolute break. But that was the Old Testament, right? That was ancient cultures and their obvious idols. This is Christmas. This is modern America. This is Christian tradition, except Jesus was showing me that the principle hasn't changed. That darkness doesn't become light just because we slap a Jesus label on it. That spiritual forces don't care about our intentions. They respond to invitations, and some objects are invitations by their very nature. My wife asked me again what was wrong. The kids asked why I was so quiet. I couldn't explain, not yet. Not until I'd seen all 4 items. Not until I had the complete picture. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. I tried to work. Couldn't focus. Every time I looked at our Christmas decorations, I felt this low-grade anxiety humming in my chest. What else were we harboring? What other doorways had we unknowingly opened? Evening came. We had planned to go look at Christmas lights as a family, but I begged off. Said I wasn't feeling well. It wasn't a lie. I felt sick. Spiritually sick. Like I was carrying a weight I couldn't put down. My wife took the kids out. I stayed home alone with our Christmas tree, our decorations, our traditions, and I prayed. I prayed like I've never prayed before. God, if I'm losing my mind, please show me. If this is just anxiety, just stress, just my imagination, please stop this. But if this is really you, if you're really revealing these things to me, then give me the courage to speak what I'm about to see. Give me the strength to endure what's coming, because I know people are going to hate me for this. I know I'm going to lose friends, lose followers, lose respect. But if it's true, if it will set people free, then I'll pay that price. The family came home around 9 p.m. The kids were wired from hot chocolate and Christmas lights. Getting them to bed took forever. My wife was exhausted and fell asleep by 10:30. I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, watching the hours tick by. 2 a.m. came, 2:15, 2:30. At 2:35, I got up. Same routine. Jeans, boots, coat. But this time, I grabbed my Bible too. I don't know why. I just felt like I needed it with me. Physical evidence that what I was experiencing was grounded in the Word, not disconnected from it. The drive to the prairie was muscle memory now. 3 nights in a row, same route, same destination. But tonight the sky was different. Heavy clouds had rolled in during the evening. No stars, no moon, just thick, low clouds that seemed to press down on the earth. The temperature was warmer than the night before, probably mid-30s, but it felt more oppressive somehow. The air was thick, humid, expectant. When I pulled up to the grasslands and killed the engine, I sat for a moment, my hands gripping the steering wheel. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my temples, my throat. This was it, the 3rd item, the most controversial one. I checked my phone. 2:47 a.m. I got out of the truck with my Bible clutched in one hand. The prairie was shrouded in darkness so complete I could barely see 10 feet in front of me. The clouds were blocking any ambient light. I turned on my phone flashlight just to navigate through the grass, but I didn't need it for long. As I walked out into the grasslands, light began to appear. Not natural light, not lightning or dawn or moonlight breaking through clouds. This was different. The grass itself began to glow. Faintly at first, then brighter. A soft, golden-white light emanated from the ground, from the vegetation, spreading out in all directions. Within seconds, the entire prairie was illuminated by this supernatural glow. I could see everything clearly. Every blade of grass, every seed head, every detail. But there were no shadows. The light came from everywhere and nowhere, and he was there. Jesus stood in the center of the glowing prairie, maybe 30 feet away. But tonight he looked different again. He was taller somehow, more powerful. His robes moved in a wind I couldn't feel. His face was set like flint. His eyes, God, his eyes were like fire, literally like flames. And his expression was one of absolute authority. This wasn't the weeping Jesus from the first night. This wasn't even the angry Jesus from the second night. This was the Jesus of Revelation, the king, the judge, the warrior. I dropped to my knees immediately, my Bible falling into the grass beside me. Jonathan. His voice boomed across the prairie, and it wasn't just sound. It was power. It resonated in my chest, in my bones, in the earth itself. Tonight you will see the 3rd item, and everything in you will want to reject what I show you. Everything in your religious training, your cultural conditioning, your desire to be accepted, all of it will scream against this truth. But you will listen, you will see, and you will speak. Yes, Lord, I managed to whisper. He raised both hands, and the entire prairie erupted into vision. Not just seeing into homes this time. I saw history. I saw centuries of history unfolding before me like a scroll being unrolled. The third item, Jesus said, his voice shaking the ground, is the Christmas tree. My heart stopped. No, not that. Anything but that. Lord, I started to protest, but he cut me off. Silence. Watch. Learn. The vision showed me ancient forests, winter solstice celebrations, pre-Christian Germanic and Celtic tribes gathering around evergreen trees in the dead of winter. They believed these trees held special power because they stayed green when everything else died. They believed the trees housed spirits. They brought them into their homes. They decorated them with candles and offerings. They danced around them. They made sacrifices near them. The evergreen tree was sacred to the pagans, Jesus said, his voice resonating through the vision. It represented eternal life, but not life in me, life in the cycles of nature, life in the old gods. They worshipped the creation rather than the creator, and the tree was central to their winter rituals. The vision shifted forward in time. I saw the church moving into these pagan territories. I saw missionaries and priests confronting these practices, and I saw the compromise being made again. They Christianized it, Jesus said, and his voice was heavy with grief now, the anger mixing with sorrow. Instead of commanding my people to abandon these pagan practices completely, church leaders made concessions. They said, "You can keep your trees, but now they represent Christ. The evergreen represents eternal life in me. The lights represent my light coming into the world." They thought they were being wise. They thought they were making the gospel more accessible. But what they actually did was blend the holy with the profane. They merged my worship with devil worship, and they called it evangelism. "But Lord," I said, my voice breaking, "it's a tree. It's just a tree. We're not worshiping it. We're just decorating our homes. We're celebrating your birth." "Are you?" he asked. And suddenly the vision focused on a modern home, a Christian home. Christmas morning, a family gathering around their tree. The children's eyes were locked on the presents underneath. The adults were admiring the decorations, the lights, taking pictures. For 20 minutes, their entire focus was on the tree, on the gifts, on the ornaments. "Where am I in this celebration?" Jesus asked. "Show me where I am in this moment." I watched the family. They didn't pray, didn't read the nativity story, didn't sing a hymn or worship song. They opened presents. They oohed and awed over the gifts. They thanked each other, and then they went to the kitchen for a big breakfast, leaving the tree as the centerpiece, the focal point, the shrine. "This is what the Christmas tree has become," Jesus said. "It is not a decoration, it is an altar. Look closer." I looked, and I began to see what I'd seen with the other items. Spiritual activity. But this was different. This was more pervasive, more entrenched. Spirits of materialism clustered around the presents. Spirits of greed, of entitlement, of discontentment. The children's hearts were filled with, "Is this all I got?" I wanted more. I wanted something different. The adults were thinking about what they had to return, what they wished they'd received, how their gifts compared to what they gave. And at the top of the tree, right at the highest point, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A dark presence, not moving, just sitting, watching, presiding over the whole scene like a king on a throne. "What is that?" I whispered. "The spirit that feeds on misplaced worship," Jesus said. "The same spirit that told Adam and Eve they could decide for themselves what was good and evil. The same spirit that offers kingdoms in exchange for devotion. The Christmas tree has become his throne in millions of Christian homes, Jonathan, not because people intend to worship him, but because they have been deceived into believing that a pagan symbol can be Christianized, that darkness can be made light, that you can merge the sacred and the profane and somehow end up with something holy." The vision shifted. I saw home after home, church after church, massive trees, small trees, expensive trees, cheap trees, real and artificial, all decorated, all lit up, all positioned as the centerpiece of Christmas celebrations. And in every single one I saw the same pattern. The tree got more attention than Jesus. The presents underneath got more focus than the gift of salvation. The decorating, the ritual of it, the tradition, it all overshadowed the actual reason for the season. "But we put a star on top," I protested weakly. "We put angel ornaments. We say it represents you. Jonathan, his voice was gentle now, but still firm. If I told you to take an altar built for Baal, decorate it with crosses and scriptures, set it up in your living room, and say, now it represents Yahweh, would that make it holy? Would that remove its history? Would that change what it was designed for? I couldn't answer. The truth was crushing me. My word is clear, Jesus continued. I told Israel not to learn the ways of the nations. I told them not to adopt pagan practices. Jeremiah 10:2-4 explicitly warns against this very thing. Do not learn the ways of the nations, for the practices of the peoples are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest, and a craftsman shapes it with his chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails so it will not totter. This is not obscure, Jonathan. This is not unclear. And yet my people quote these verses and then say, but that was about idols. Our tree is different. Is it? Is it really? The vision showed me more. I saw the commercialization, the billions of dollars spent on trees, ornaments, lights. I saw families going into debt. I saw the stress, the arguments about how to decorate, where to place it, who puts the star on top. I saw the exhaustion of keeping up appearances. And I saw how little of any of it had anything to do with Jesus. Every year, millions of Christians bring a tree into their homes, Jesus said. They spend hours decorating it. They gather around it. They take pictures in front of it. They make it the focal point of their celebration. And they do all of this while claiming to celebrate my birth. But where am I, Jonathan? When they gather around that tree, where am I in that moment? I was weeping now, tears streaming down my face. Because I saw it. I saw the truth of it. We had a tree in our living room right now, a beautiful tree. We'd spent a whole day decorating it as a family. The kids loved it. Every evening they turned off all the lights except the tree lights and just sat there staring at it, mesmerized by it, and we'd read the nativity story once, for 10 minutes. But the tree, that got hours, days, weeks of attention. Lord, everyone has a Christmas tree, I said, my voice desperate. Every Christian family, every church. If this is true, if this is really wrong, why hasn't anyone else said it? Why am I the only one hearing this? Jesus knelt down in front of me, right there in the glowing grass. His eyes, still like fire, locked onto mine. You are not the only one, he said quietly. There have been others. Throughout history, there have been believers who saw this truth and spoke it. But they were silenced, mocked, called legalistic, accused of stealing joy, and so the majority went on celebrating, and the minority was drowned out. But the truth doesn't change based on how many people believe it, Jonathan. The truth is the truth, and the truth is that I never asked my people to bring pagan symbols into their homes and baptize them with my name. He reached out and put his hand on my shoulder. The warmth, the power, the love that radiated from his touch was overwhelming. I'm not asking you to condemn people, he said. I'm not asking you to be harsh or judgmental. I'm asking you to speak truth, to give my people an opportunity to choose. Right now, most of them don't know they're choosing. They've never been told. They've inherited this tradition and never questioned it. But you are going to give them information. You are going to shine light, and then they will choose. Some will reject it. Some will be angry. But some, the remnant, the marked ones, they will recognize truth when they hear it. They will feel the witness of the Holy Spirit, and they will act. The vision began to fade. The glowing prairie started to dim. But before it disappeared completely, Jesus showed me one more thing. A home with no tree. A family, parents, and 3 children, sitting together on Christmas morning. But instead of gathering around a tree, they were gathered around a simple nativity scene, and they were reading the Gospel of Luke. The children were engaged, asking questions. The parents were answering, teaching. And the presence of God in that home was so thick, so tangible, that I could see it like a golden mist filling every room. This is what I want, Jesus said. This is the celebration that honors me, not the one that looks like everyone else's, not the one that wins approval on social media, the one that is actually about me, actually focused on me, actually worshiping me. The vision disappeared completely. The prairie went dark again, the supernatural glow fading. The thick clouds overhead finally began to break, and I could see the first hint of pre-dawn light on the eastern horizon. Jesus stood, pulling me to my feet with him. There is one more item, he said. One more revelation. Tomorrow night, Christmas Eve morning, I will show you the 4th, and then you will have the complete picture. Then you will speak all of it, and let the chips fall where they may. Lord, the tree is going to be the hardest one, I said. People are going to lose their minds. They're going to say I've gone too far, that I'm legalistic, that I'm stealing Christmas. I know, he said, and there was such compassion in his voice. But you will speak it anyway, because you love them, because you want them free, because you understand that popularity is worthless if it costs people their spiritual freedom. The wind picked up, cold and damp. The clouds were moving fast now, breaking apart. Stars began to appear. Go home, Jesus said. Rest. Tonight is Christmas Eve. Tomorrow night I show you the fourth item. And then your work begins. Then you speak. Then you warn. Then you give my people a chance to choose holiness over tradition. He began to fade, his form becoming translucent. Jonathan, he said, his voice echoing across the prairie one last time, I am proud of you. I know this is hard. I know this costs you. But you are doing what few are willing to do. You are speaking uncomfortable truth. And that is the mark of a true prophet, not someone who tells people what they want to hear, someone who tells people what they need to hear, even when it hurts. And then he was gone. I stood alone in the dark prairie as dawn began to break. My legs were shaking. My face was wet with tears. My spirit felt like it had been through a battle. I walked back to my truck in a daze. I sat in the driver's seat and just stared out the windshield as the sky gradually lightened. Christmas Eve was in 12 hours. In 12 hours, people would be gathering their families, cooking their dinners, getting ready for Christmas morning, and most of them would have a tree as the centerpiece of their celebration, and I was about to tell them it was a doorway for darkness. God help me. I drove home in silence. My wife was still asleep when I got back. I went straight to our living room and stood in front of our Christmas tree. It was beautiful, truly beautiful. White lights, ornaments collected over years, a gold star on top. The presents underneath were wrapped perfectly. It looked like a magazine cover, and I knew it had to go. Not today, not yet, not until I'd seen the fourth item, until I had the complete message. But soon, very soon. Are you still with me? Because tonight is the fourth and final revelation. Christmas Eve morning, 3 a.m. The prairie, one more item, and then the full picture, then the complete message. I need you to do something. I need you to ask the Holy Spirit right now, right this moment, to prepare your heart for what you're about to hear. Because the fourth item is something you probably have in your home right now, something you think is innocent, something you've never questioned, but Jesus is about to question it. He's about to shine light on it, and you're going to have to choose what you do with that information. Drop "prepare my heart" in the comments, because we're going into the final night, the most intense encounter, the complete revelation, and then everything changes. Christmas Eve, the day felt surreal, unreal, like I was walking through someone else's life, going through motions that didn't belong to me anymore. My wife had plans: finish wrapping gifts, prep Christmas dinner, take the kids to the candlelight service at church. Normal things, beautiful things, things we'd done every year. But I couldn't be normal, not after 3 nights of revelation, not after seeing what I'd seen. I went through the day like a ghost. I smiled when I was supposed to smile, laughed when I was supposed to laugh. But inside I was counting down the hours, minutes, seconds, until 2:47 a.m., until the final revelation. The candlelight service was the hardest part. We sat in church, packed, standing room only, everyone dressed up, everyone smiling, and I looked around at the decorations, the massive tree at the front of the sanctuary, the wreaths, the garland, all beautiful, all festive, all celebrating the birth of Jesus, or were they? As the service went on, as we sang carols and listened to the nativity reading, I found myself watching people instead of participating. I watched where their eyes went, what they focused on. And I saw it. The tree got more photographs than the cross. The decorations got more attention than the scripture. The aesthetics of Christmas overshadowed the actual meaning of it. And nobody noticed. Or if they did, they didn't care. Because this is just what we do. This is tradition. This is Christmas. But what if we've got it all wrong? What if we've been deceived for so long that we can't even see the deception anymore? The service ended around 9 p.m. We drove home, put the kids to bed, which took forever because they were so excited about tomorrow morning. Finally, mercifully, they fell asleep. My wife was exhausted and went to bed by 11. I told her I needed to wrap a few more gifts, that I'd be up soon. I didn't wrap anything. I sat in our dark living room, the only light coming from the Christmas tree, and I prayed. I prayed harder than I've ever prayed in my life. God, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can speak what you're showing me. The first three items are going to be controversial enough, but there's one more. And I have this terrible feeling, that the fourth one is going to be the worst, the one that makes people think I've completely lost it. Give me strength, give me courage, give me your words, because mine won't be enough. Time crawled. Midnight came. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. At 2:30, I got up. I didn't even try to be quiet this time. I walked to the bedroom, and my wife was awake, sitting up in bed, looking at me. "You're going again," she said. Not a question, a statement. "Yes." "Jonathan, what's happening to you? 3 nights in a row, you disappear in the middle of the night. You come back looking like you've seen a ghost. You won't talk to me. You barely eat. It's Christmas Eve and you're not even here." I sat down on the edge of the bed. "I know, I'm sorry, but I promise you after tonight I'll explain everything. After tonight you'll understand. I just need you to trust me for a few more hours." She looked at me for a long moment. "Are you in trouble? Are you having an affair? Are you—" "No," I said firmly. "Nothing like that. I promise. This is God. This is something God is doing. I know that sounds crazy. I know. But it's true, and after tonight, you'll see. Please, just trust me until morning." She nodded slowly. "Okay. But Jonathan, be careful. Whatever this is, whatever you think you're hearing, just be careful." I kissed her forehead and left. The drive to the prairie felt different this time. Final, like I was driving toward something that would change everything, that would divide my life into before and after. The night was clear, cold. A sharp wind was blowing out of the north, bringing Arctic air down across the plains. When I checked the truck's thermometer, it read 19 degrees. I pulled up to the now familiar spot and killed the engine. 2:47 a.m. Exactly. I got out of the truck and the wind hit me like a physical force. It was bitter, cutting, the kind of cold that takes your breath away. The prairie grass was bending and thrashing. The sky above was crystalline clear, absolutely packed with stars, the Milky Way visible as a river of light across the heavens. The moon had waxed to completely full, hanging huge and bright and silver above the eastern horizon. I walked out into the grasslands, and this time I didn't wait or call out, because I knew he was already there. I could feel it. The air itself was different, charged, expectant. And then I saw him. Jesus stood at the highest point of the prairie, maybe 50 yards away, silhouetted against the star-filled sky and the rising moon. But as I walked toward him, I realized he wasn't alone. There were others, figures standing with him, translucent, glowing slightly. Angels, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all standing in formation, all facing me. My legs almost gave out. This wasn't just an encounter. This was an assembly, a heavenly court. I fell to my knees in the frozen grass while I was still 30 feet away. "Lord," I called out, my voice nearly stolen by the wind. "I'm here. I'm ready. Show me the fourth item." Jesus stepped forward, separating himself from the angelic host. As he walked toward me, the wind died completely. Everything went still. The sudden silence after the roaring wind was deafening. He stopped directly in front of me. Tonight he was dressed differently. He wore white robes that seemed to glow with their own light. His face was radiant, not angry like the second night, not authoritative like the third night. Tonight he looked sorrowful, deeply, profoundly sad, like he was about to reveal something that hurt him to show. "Jonathan," he said, his voice soft but clear, "tonight I show you the fourth item, and this one will be the hardest for people to hear, because it involves something that seems innocent, something that involves children, something that brings joy and excitement. But underneath the innocent appearance is a deception that has consequences far beyond what people realize." He raised his hand and the vision began. The prairie disappeared, replaced by the inside of homes. Thousands of them, millions of them, all on Christmas Eve night, all with the same scene playing out. "The fourth item," Jesus said, his voice heavy, "is the ritual of Santa Claus. The cookies left out for him, the milk, the carrots for his reindeer, the letters written to him, the belief in him, the entire mythology built around him." I felt my heart sink. Of course this was the fourth item, and of course it was going to be the most controversial, because people love Santa. Christian people defend Santa. They say it's harmless. They say it's just fun. They say it teaches generosity and kindness and magic. Watch, Jesus commanded. I watched as children in home after home prepared for Santa's arrival. They left out cookies and milk. They wrote letters. They made sure they were in bed early because Santa won't come if you're awake. And their faces, their precious faces, were filled with belief, real, genuine faith. They believed with their whole hearts that Santa was real, that he was watching them, that he would reward their good behavior with gifts. Do you see it? Jesus asked quietly. Do you see what this teaches? And then I did. I saw it with terrible clarity. This is a counterfeit gospel, Jesus said. Listen to the theology of Santa Claus. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. He lives in a distant, unreachable place. He has a list of who's naughty and nice. He judges your behavior. He rewards the good and withholds from the bad. And if you believe in him, if you have faith in him, if you're good enough, he will come and bring you gifts. His voice grew stronger, more intense. This is my gospel, Jonathan, twisted, perverted, made into a lie. Except in the real gospel, I see everything not to judge but to love. I know your heart not to condemn but to redeem. I don't live in an unreachable place, I live in you. I don't have a list of naughty and nice. I have a book of life, and everyone who calls on my name is written in it. I don't reward good behavior, I give grace to the undeserving. And I don't come if you believe. I came while you were still sinners. The vision zoomed in on one specific home. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, kneeling beside her bed on Christmas Eve. And she was praying, but she wasn't praying to Jesus. "Dear Santa," she whispered, her hands folded, her eyes squeezed shut. "Please bring me the doll I asked for. I've been really, really good this year, I promise. I cleaned my room and I didn't fight with my brother too much and I ate my vegetables. Please, please come tonight. I believe in you. Amen." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "This child has been taught to pray to Santa," Jesus said, and his voice cracked with emotion. "She has been taught that her behavior earns blessing, that being good enough brings reward, that belief in a myth has power. And her parents, Christian parents who take her to church, who own Bibles, who say they follow me, they taught her this. They created this theology in her mind, and they think it's harmless." The vision shifted to Christmas morning, the same little girl running downstairs, seeing presents under the tree, screaming with joy. Santa came, he's real, I knew he was real." And her parents smiling, recording it on their phones, delighting in her belief. What happens, Jesus asked, when she discovers the truth? When she learns that Santa isn't real, that her parents lied to her for years, that the figure she prayed to, believed in, trusted, he was fiction? The vision fast-forwarded. The same girl, now 10 years old, finding out the truth. I watched her face crumble, watched betrayal flash across her features, watched her run to her room crying, and then I heard her thoughts. If Santa isn't real, what else isn't real? Is Jesus real, or is he just another story my parents tell me? "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." "Yes," Jesus said firmly. "This is what happens, Jonathan. Children are taught to have faith in Santa with the same language, the same rituals, the same fervor as faith in me. And when the Santa faith is revealed to be false, it creates doubt about all faith. It teaches children that their parents will lie to them about spiritual things. That belief doesn't make something true, that the adults in their lives cannot be trusted when it comes to matters of faith. The vision showed me statistics, numbers, studies, the correlation between Santa belief and later religious skepticism. The number of young adults who walked away from Christianity citing the Santa lie as a breaking point in their ability to trust what their parents taught them about God. "But Lord," I said desperately, "people say Santa teaches generosity, giving without expecting anything in return, the joy of surprises, magic and wonder. Does it?" Jesus challenged. "Or does it teach children to write lists of demands, to focus on what they want rather than what they can give, to measure their worth by what they receive? Show me the generosity in a child who throws a tantrum because Santa didn't bring them exactly what they wanted." The vision showed me Christmas morning after Christmas morning, children tearing through presents, disappointed faces when they didn't get enough or didn't get the right things. Entitlement, greed, comparison with what their friends got, parents going into debt to maintain the Santa myth, to make sure their kids got enough so they wouldn't feel unloved. "And the magic and wonder you speak of," Jesus continued, "why does it require a lie? Why can't the wonder be in me? Why can't the magic be in the actual miracle of God becoming flesh? Why must you create a false deity to generate excitement in your children? Am I not exciting enough? Is my story not wonderful enough? I had no answer. The truth was crushing me. Every year, Jesus said, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper, millions of Christian parents spend weeks building up Santa. They read Santa books. They watch Santa movies. They take their children to see Santa at the mall. They track Santa on Christmas Eve. They create elaborate proofs that Santa was in their home, eaten cookies, drunk milk, sooty footprints. They invest hours and energy and creativity into making Santa real for their children. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was filled with such pain that I started weeping. And they spend maybe 10 minutes on me, maybe one reading of the Nativity story, maybe one prayer thanking me for coming. I am an afterthought in my own birthday celebration, Jonathan. I am secondary to a myth. And parents wonder why their children grow up with a weak faith, why they walk away from church, why Jesus doesn't seem real to them. It's because from their earliest memories, Santa got the prime real estate in their hearts. Santa got the excitement, the belief, the wonder, the faith, and I got leftovers. The vision shifted again. I saw a different home, a family that didn't do Santa. The parents had made the decision early on to focus Christmas entirely on Jesus. On Christmas morning, their children woke up excited, not because of what they might get, but because it was Jesus' birthday. They sang happy birthday to Jesus. They read the gospel accounts. They talked about what Jesus' birth meant. And yes, there were presents, but they were framed as representations of God's gift to us, not rewards for behavior. And the presence of God in that home was thick, tangible, real. This is what I want, Jesus said, not the elimination of joy, not the removal of celebration, but the proper focus, the right foundation, truth instead of lies, me instead of myths. The vision faded. The prairie came back into view. The angels were still there, standing in formation behind Jesus, their faces solemn. Jesus turned and gestured to them. These are the ones who announced my birth, not to everyone, not to the wealthy or powerful, but to shepherds, outcasts, the lowly, and their message was simple. Good news of great joy for all people. Today, in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. That was the message. That was the focus. Me, the Savior. Not magic, not mythology, not a jolly man in a red suit. Me. He turned back to me. And now I'm asking you to deliver a message, to tell my people what I've shown you. 4 items, 4 doorways, 4 deceptions that have infiltrated Christian homes and Christian celebrations. He began counting them off. The elf on the shelf, teaching performance-based religion and creating a false mediator. The Christmas pyramid, carrying generational spirits and pagan origins that were never truly cleansed. The Christmas tree, a Christianized pagan symbol that becomes an altar, drawing focus away from me. And Santa Claus, a counterfeit gospel that teaches children to have faith in a lie and creates doubt about all spiritual truth. The wind suddenly returned, howling across the prairie. The angels began to fade, their forms becoming translucent, then disappearing entirely. But Jesus remained solid, real, present. You have until January 21st, he said. 30 days from now. That's the deadline I'm giving people. 30 days to hear this message, to search their hearts, to seek me, and to make a decision. Will they choose holiness or tradition? Will they choose truth or comfort? Will they choose me or the approval of others? Lord, what do I tell them to do? I asked. Practically, specifically. Tell them this, Jesus said, and his voice took on the tone of a command. Every day for the next 30 days, spend 30 minutes in my presence, not reading about me, not listening to sermons about me, actually with me, in silence, in worship, in prayer. Ask me to reveal any other doorways in their homes, in their lives, in their hearts. Ask me to show them what needs to be removed. And then, this is crucial, Jonathan, when I show them, they must act immediately. Not next week, not next month. Immediately. Remove the items. Destroy them if necessary. Don't sell them and pass the curse to someone else. Don't donate them. Destroy them. Break agreement with any spirits that entered through those items. Cleanse their homes with prayer, with worship, with my word. Seal every entrance with my blood, and then replace the empty spaces with my presence, with truth, with genuine worship. He stepped closer to me, and tell them this: I am not angry with them. I am not condemning them. Most of them didn't know. They inherited these traditions. They were taught these practices by people they trusted, but now they know. Now they have information. Now they must choose. And whatever they choose, there will be consequences. Choose holiness, and they will experience freedom, breakthrough, a deeper intimacy with me than they've ever known. Choose tradition, and they will remain bound, oppressed, wondering why their prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling, why their children are walking away from faith, why there's always this low-grade spiritual static in their homes. The eastern horizon was beginning to lighten. Dawn was coming. Christmas morning was coming. Go home, Jesus said. Spend Christmas Day with your family. And then, starting tomorrow, you release this message. All 4 parts. Hold nothing back. Speak everything I've shown you. And prepare yourself, Jonathan. Prepare yourself for the backlash, for the mockery, for the accusations, for the friends who will distance themselves, for the family members who will think you've joined a cult, for the Christians who will call you a heretic. It's coming, all of it. But so is the breakthrough, so is the freedom, so are the testimonies of families who will be transformed because they heard truth and acted on it. He placed both hands on my shoulders. The warmth, the power, the love that flowed from his touch was indescribable. I am with you, he said. Every step, every word, every attack, I am with you. And when this is over, when the 30 days have passed, you will see the fruit. You will hear from the remnant, from the marked ones, from those who chose truth over tradition, and it will all be worth it. And then he was gone. The presence lifted. The supernatural atmosphere evaporated. I was alone on the prairie as Christmas morning dawned, the sky turning from black to deep blue to pink to gold. I walked back to my truck in a daze. My phone showed 5:47 a.m. I'd been out there for 3 hours, though it had felt like 30 minutes. I drove home slowly, watching the sun rise over the Kansas prairie, watching the world wake up to Christmas morning, and I thought about what was in store, the message I had to deliver, the reaction it would provoke. When I got home, my family was still asleep. I went to our living room and stood in front of our Christmas tree one more time, and I knew it had to go. Not today. Today was Christmas, and I wouldn't ruin it for my kids. But soon, very soon. I went upstairs and crawled into bed beside my wife. She stirred, rolled over, looked at me. You okay? She whispered. Yeah, I said. I'm okay, and I promise I'll explain everything, soon. She nodded and went back to sleep. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to my house wake up, hearing my kids start to stir, their excited whispers, their footsteps on the stairs. Christmas morning was here, and everything was about to change. The aftermath. It's been 3 days since that final encounter. 3 days since Jesus showed me the 4th item. And I'm writing this now, on December 27th, because I can't wait any longer. The message has to go out. You have to hear this. I spent Christmas Day in a fog. We did our normal traditions, opened presents, had a big breakfast, called family, watched movies. But I was only half present. On December 26th, I sat my wife down and told her everything, all 4 nights, all 4 items, every detail. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, I believe you. I don't fully understand it, but I believe you. And if God showed you this, then we need to act on it. That afternoon, we took down our Christmas tree. We didn't make a big announcement to the kids. We just told them that we felt like God was asking us to celebrate Christmas differently, to focus more on Jesus and less on decorations. They were confused but accepting. We also got rid of the elf. We'd already stopped using it after the first night, but now we actually threw it away. And as we did, we prayed. We broke agreement with any spirits that had entered through it. We asked forgiveness for unknowingly opening doorways. We cleansed our home. And I'm telling you right now, the atmosphere in our house changed immediately. It was like a weight lifted, like we could breathe deeper. My wife felt it too. Even the kids commented that the house felt different, better. Now I'm releasing this message to you. All 4 parts. Everything Jesus showed me. And I'm giving you the same deadline he gave me. January 21st, 2026. 30 days from December 22nd. Here's what I'm asking you to do. The 30-day challenge. Spend 30 minutes every single day in Jesus' presence, not reading, not listening to podcasts, actually sitting in silence, worshiping, praying, listening. Ask him, Lord, are there any doorways in my home? Any items that are giving the enemy access? Show me what needs to go. When he shows you something, act immediately. Don't rationalize. Don't make excuses. Don't wait. Remove it that day, that hour if possible, for the 4 items I've mentioned. If you have an elf on the shelf, throw it away. Don't donate it. Destroy it. Break agreement with the spirit of performance-based religion. If you have a Christmas pyramid, especially an heirloom, this will be hard, but remove it. Break generational curses. Ask God to sever any familiar spirits attached to your bloodline through that object. The Christmas tree. This is the big one. I'm not telling you that you're going to hell if you have a tree, but I am asking you to pray about it. Ask God specifically, is this tree a problem in my home? Is it drawing focus away from you? Is it an altar to something other than you? And if he says yes, remove it, even if it's hard, even if people think you're crazy. Santa Claus, stop the lie. If your kids still believe, sit them down and gently tell them the truth. Explain that you made a mistake, that you wanted to create magic, but you did it the wrong way. Refocus their excitement on Jesus. Make his birthday the celebration, not the gifts. Replace what you remove. Don't just create empty space. Fill it with worship, with scripture, with genuine presence of God. Create new traditions that actually honor Jesus. Read the Gospels together. Sing worship songs. Serve others in his name. Make Christmas about him in practical, tangible ways. Document your journey. I want to hear from you. I need to hear from you. Drop comments telling me what God is showing you, what you're removing, what you're experiencing, because your testimony will encourage others. Your obedience will give others courage. The warning: if you ignore this message, if you hear it and reject it, if you choose tradition over truth, I can't make you change. But I'm telling you, I'm warning you, there will be consequences. The spiritual oppression will continue. The doorways will remain open. Your children will continue to be influenced by these deceptions. Your prayers will continue to feel blocked. Your home will continue to feel spiritually heavy. And when you stand before Jesus one day and he asks you, why did you keep those things in your home after you knew the truth? What will you say? Everyone else was doing it. I didn't want to be weird. Tradition was more important than obedience. The promise. But if you act, if you hear this word and respond in obedience, I'm telling you, breakthrough is coming. Freedom is coming. You will experience God's presence in your home like never before. Your children will encounter Jesus in real, powerful ways. The spiritual static will clear. Your prayers will have power. You will look back on this moment as a turning point, as the time when you chose holiness over comfort, truth over tradition, Jesus over everything else. The deadline, January 21st, 2026. That's 30 days from the first night Jesus appeared to me in the prairie. That's your window. That's the time of grace he's giving. After that, I don't know what happens. I just know that's the date he gave me. So don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Start today. Start right now. Final thoughts. I went back to the prairie this morning, December 27th, just after dawn. I wanted to see it in daylight, to process everything that had happened there. The grasslands looked so normal, so ordinary, just brown winter grass stretching for miles under a gray sky. No supernatural glow, no angels, no Jesus standing in the distance, but I could still feel it, the weight of what had happened there, the importance of it. I stood in the spot where Jesus had appeared that first night, where he'd wept over the elf, and I prayed, God, give me the courage to speak this. Give me the strength to endure what's coming. And please, please let it bear fruit. Let people hear. Let them respond. Let families be set free. And I felt him respond. Not audibly, not visibly, but in my spirit I heard, they will hear. The marked ones will hear. And that's enough. So here it is. The complete message. 4 items, 4 doorways, 4 deceptions that have infiltrated Christian homes under the guise of Christmas celebration. The elf on the shelf, the Christmas pyramid, the Christmas tree, Santa Claus. I've given you the information, I've shared the visions, I've delivered the warning. Now you have to choose. Will you be part of the remnant? Will you be one of the marked ones who hears truth and acts on it, regardless of the cost? Or will you scroll past this, dismiss it as extreme, go back to your traditions, and wonder why your spiritual life feels stagnant? The choice is yours, but choose quickly, because January 21st is coming, and after that the window closes. Drop your commitment in the comments. Tell me you're in. Tell me you're choosing truth over tradition. Tell me you're one of the marked ones, and then do the work. 30 minutes a day, 30 days. Remove the doorways, cleanse your home, fill it with his presence. So I'll be praying for you, I'll be checking the comments, I'll be here walking this out with you, because we're in this together, the remnant, the marked ones, the ones who love Jesus more than we love comfort, more than we love tradition, more than we love the approval of others. Let's do this. Let's take back our homes. Let's close the doorways. Let's make room for the King. Starting now. I'm standing in that prairie in my mind right now, looking out over those grasslands where Jesus met me 4 nights in a row, where he wept, where he warned, where he revealed truth that will cost me everything, but he's worth it. You're worth it. Your family's freedom is worth it. So I'm speaking, I'm releasing this message, and I'm trusting that the ones who need to hear it will hear it. Are you one of them? Drop I'm marked one final time if you're ready to walk this out. January 21st, 2026, 30 days. Let's go.